This is Unexplained America, and I'm your host, Lisa. This week, this week's episode is coming a little bit early. It is coming out to you on Thanksgiving Day. Won't say that it's a Thanksgiving treat. It is a Thanksgiving Day crime. And I will say it's pretty heinous. So listener discretion, because this case has all of the horribleness that one can imagine. There's a lot going on here. Cannibalism. Yes, this case has every foul item. So again, not really special treat. It is a Thanksgiving Day episode. Little business. Please follow on all of the platforms. Please leave a comment, follow me on all the things. Everything that you do is helpful. If you wish to join the Patreon for lots of bonus content, check out my show notes. So all of my connections are in my show notes. So yeah. So we'll get into this Thanksgiving Day crime special. On Sunday, December 1st, 1991, police in Costa Mesa, California would get a phone call about an Omaima Nelson, and they would go to the address where she is at. She has driven to a friend's house. She's in a red Corvette, and the police would interview Omaima. That day, they would find in Omaima's Corvette human organs. These human organs would lead the investigators to a William Edwin Nelson. He'll go by Bill. And the police would encounter one of the most gruesome crime scenes that they had witnessed in Orange County, California at that time. Now, we're going to go back and do a little bit of background on Omaima and Bill Nelson. Okay, we're going to start with Omaima. So, Omaima Nelson, she's born in 1968, and she is born in Egypt. So she is from Egypt. She is from Cairo. It's said that she was very poor background. She grew up in a very hostile environment. Her father was very abusive. And when she was very young, her father and mother did divorce. And then her mother was a single woman trying to raise a family on her own. And so there's not a ton known about Omaima's beginnings other than what she conveyed that was just terrible. But they did live in Egypt. They lived near the Acropolis, which is basically the city of the dead. So they're part of the city, a very poor part of the city where people are living amongst all of the cemeteries in Egypt. So just a very not fun beginning for Omaima. And she would say that her entire life consisted of being abused in different ways by her family members and such. By the time Omaima is 18 years old, so around 1986, she does meet an American citizen who is over in Egypt as an oil worker, and his name is Roger Stainbrook. They get married. They had been dating, and in her culture, she knew that she really didn't have a lot of options for moving forward, growth, whatever. And so she decided that she would marry Roger. At least then she could be an American. He could get her out of Egypt and out of her situation with her family. And she was trying to better her situation, better her life. After his job in Egypt runs out, Roger and Omaima, they move back to the States, and he is from Texas, so she goes to Texas. Now, as soon as they get to the States, this is not a marriage made in a love situation. It's not a love match or a soulmates here. So she gets to America, and pretty quickly she gets divorced. Omaima finds herself on her own in the United States as a young immigrant, as a young woman. Her English is broken. She's having to learn the language, so having to learn the culture. So this is just a very big situation for Omaima. So she's going to do whatever she can to make money. She can clean houses. She is meeting different men, utilizing men to just live, so to speak, not necessarily in sex work, but boyfriends, having relationships to get ahead, get any type of assistance that she can. So she does find her way by 1989 to California. And there in California, she is just trying to survive. And also she's getting into trouble just kind of right away. She does get a license, which she accrues 12 different traffic violations. She does meet up with a man named Jack Houston in California. He's 38 years old. He's a boyfriend. And again, by this time, she is only 20, 21, 22. She's not very old, but she is, again, just utilizing these relationships in different ways. She steals Jack's car, so she gets in trouble for car theft. Again, she's kind of working. She works a little bit as a nanny. She cleans homes. Omaima is a beautiful young woman. She is very exotic looking. She is very petite. She does get some work as a model. She's doing everything that she can, obviously, to make ends meet, have a living, have a roof over her head, food on the table, or whatever. So, and the way that she literally finds this primarily is, again, by dating. She meets men in bars. She takes advantage of meeting these men and having these relationships. In November of 1990, it said she meets a 61-year-old Robert Hansen of Huntington Beach, California. He will later accuse her of holding him up at gunpoint. This will come out a little bit later. This is in November of 90. Fast forward, she meets William Edwin Nelson, goes by Bill. She meets him at the beginning of October of 1991, and she meets him in a bar. She strikes up a conversation. They hit it off. Immediately, they have a whirlwind romance. Okay, so is Omaima's background. Now, Bill is quite a bit senior to Omaima. Now, he was born September 30th of 1935. He is born to C. Edwin Nelson and Catherine Nelson, and he is born in Nebraska. And he has numerous siblings and grows up in Nebraska. He is growing up in 35, post-Depression era. He does go into service. He does get married. By the time he meets Omaima, he has a couple of marriages. It said that he has 5 kids and 17 grandchildren by that time. And again, he's quite senior over her. When they meet, she is around 23 years old, and he is 56 years old. A little interesting point on Bill. So he has lived a big life. He is a pilot. He grew up in Nebraska, but he did find his way to Texas, where he spent many years of his life raising kids, having a family and such. So in 1984, again, Bill is a pilot. He gets approached by a Scott Ronald Alexander Sharp, who is an owner of an American soccer league team called the Sun. So this man approaches several men, and then Bill gets his brother Jerry involved in this. But basically, they are going to, and they're connected with some Colombians as well, some men from Colombia, and they are going to smuggle drugs via the plane. Bill purchases and restructures a DC-7, a 1958 DC-7 that he can fly, and this operation is going to basically try to smuggle in 200,000 pounds of marijuana. And this is a value of $120 million, by the way. So what they don't know is there is a man named Frank Kelly. He has different aliases, but he is an undercover. He is a paid informer for the DEA. And so they set out to go do this operation on June 6th of 1984, and they are busted, and they are arrested, and they face huge felony charges, from the United States, okay? So, long story short, obviously, Bill is in very big trouble. Jerry kind of turns on Bill. He blames everything on Bill. Bill's defense is that he was also working with the DEA, that all of them were working with the government on this operation, that he really wasn't. Bottom line is, he and his brother and a Colombian named Adalberto are convicted. They are sentenced, but long story short, the Frank Kelly character, who is the paid informer, was one of the star witnesses in their case. And so what happened was there was a lot of appeals process and such, and they came back and said, okay, this guy is paid by the United States to inform, and so he is the last person that needs to be a witness. So that they go through all these appeals. By 1986, Frank is out. He had been convicted. He was, he was in prison. Now the conviction is overturned because of the situation, but there were a lot of lawsuits. There are a lot of things. He is still on parole, by the way. So, in fact, after all this happens, he does make it out to California. And at the time in 1991, whenever he's meeting Omaima, he is working. Now, he still has evidently his private pilot's license or whatever, but he is working as a computer program for a mortgage company called Cannon Mortgage Inc. So that is what he's doing. So basically, he just moved, and he was also likewise going through a divorce at the time. Just note all that. So Bill definitely had his brush-ins with the law. Omaima, she had hers as well. She had already faced theft charges, stealing a vehicle. In 1989, she had been caught shoplifting and had actually assaulted the female security guard and evidently bit the woman's breast, assaulted her bad. So Omaima definitely had faced her legal issues as well. So when these two meet up in this bar, these are two people that definitely have, so not the cleanest of backgrounds. Again, they meet. Bill is involved in a divorce. So he is actually still married, legally still married, but he meets Omaima. They immediately begin a whirlwind romance. He moves her into his apartment in Costa Mesa. He is taking her on trips. Evidently, they go and meet his family. He has family in Texas and Arkansas. They go around meeting these people. I mean, this is very quick situation. This is at the beginning of October 91. Now, they do evidently make travel around. Evidently, they go, while they're traveling, they stop in Phoenix, Arizona, and get married. They actually get married. Now, later on, there will be issues to this because obviously he is alleged to already be married. So, legally, don't know how sound their quote-unquote marriage is. So, they're just on a whirlwind situation. Bill has a good job. He has an apartment. He has some money. He has a Corvette. He has motorcycles. He is said to be just a bigger than life person, just a very fun, outgoing individual. And together they appear to be just a very happy couple. Now, again, they have a very large age gap. They probably look very interesting together considering just the age gap alone. Their relationship is interesting. Bill's boss at the Cannon Mortgage, her name is Sue Swanson, she would be interviewed and say that the couple, Bill and Omaima, were a real quiet, mysterious people. He met the girl and all of a sudden they were married. So this is the situation at hand, okay? So, now on Thursday, November 28th of 1991, that is Thanksgiving Day. Neighbors will state that they did see both Bill and Omaima at the apartment in Costa Mesa on that day at noon, around noon. So they were seen by then. By Sunday, a few days later, so Friday passes, Saturday passes, Sunday, Omaima shows up driving Bill's red Corvette. She shows up at a past boyfriend's house, and his name is Jose. So she knocks on the door. Jose opens the door. This is around 1:30 on Sunday, December 1st. And he sees Omaima. He recognizes her. Well, she goes in and she tells him that she has killed her husband and that she needs his help in disposing the body. Like, she needs his help. And that she will pay him $75,000. That Bill has $75,000. He has some motorcycles. If Jose will help her dispose of the body, that she will give him these assets. Now, he just, my goodness, can't even imagine. This is Sunday after Thanksgiving. This woman that he hasn't seen in a while shows up and is asking him to dispose of a body. A man that she's allegedly married to, that she has killed. So he tells her, okay, you just sit tight. Let me go get my truck. Okay, let me go get, I'll help you, but let me go get this. So Jose, he leaves and goes and finds a phone and he calls the police. So the police show up at Jose's and they meet Omaima. They talk to Omaima. And by now, she has fully switched gears. She denies any of that conversation. She denies killing her husband or coming to Jose to help dispose of his body. She is completely in denial. She states that Bill is actually still alive, that he is working in Florida. This is her story now. This is the same day, okay? So they're still talking to her. So the police go and check out the car, and then they're looking in the car, and there are like bags in the car. And so they're going through these bags, and in one of the bags, they find what appears to be human organs. And at this time, they're like, this is obviously pointing in a very different direction than Bill being in Florida. So they immediately go ahead and call the medical examiner's office. They have a coroner come out to look at what they're seeing, and the coroner is able to point out, so it's like a part of a lung, and they're able to point out and say, this is basically nodes or marks of carbon on these lungs. This is from a smoker. This is a smoker's lungs. Now they're taking Omaima in custody. They're obviously talking to her more. She's riding around in a car that has human organs in it, and they don't have a clue whose body this is, but she has a body. So then they get her into custody. They are just, at this point, she is not under arrest, but she is talked to more. So now they're talking to her more. What's going on? She is still sticking to the story of Bill being gone. Like, she is not confirming any of what Jose had told them. So then the police are, of course, they've gone through the car. They're going to the apartment. And in the apartment, at first glances, the apartment is very cluttered. The apartment has a lot of, Bill was a computer programmer. There are computers everywhere. There is just junk everywhere. There's food items. There's a lot of clutter in the apartment at first glance. Now, of course, they are at probable cause that there's a lot more going on. So as they further look at the apartment, though, they are seeing many more signs of distress. There are blood spots literally all around the apartment in different areas of the apartment. And then they go into the kitchen. In the kitchen, in the freezer, they find a human skull. And it appears that this head inside the freezer has been boiled first. It has been cooked, basically. This head is in the freezer. They find human hands. The hands appear to be filleted, like the skin is pulled off of the hands, and the hands are literally in a pot on the stove, by the way. And then they're finding legs. They're finding all sorts of body parts, broken down body parts. So now they have Omaima, they have Jose, they have all these body parts. They pull back the covers on the couple's bed, and they find the bed, the mattress is drenched in blood. It is drenched in blood. They know that they have some kind of homicide. I mean, there is literally a human head in the freezer. So they go back to Omaima and they're like, laying it out. What are you doing with a human head in your freezer, hands, like all these body parts cut up? You had human organs in the car. What is going on? So at this time, she flips again and she begins to tell a different story. So Omaima proceeds to tell the police that she has been sexually abused and assaulted by Bill for the last 2 months, ever since she met him. She states that on Thanksgiving Day, that he actually ties her up to the bedpost, like ties her and binds her to their bed and proceeds to rape her. And then she gets free, and in a self-defense and a psychosis, like she states that she doesn't even remember what she does to, she wakes up and his body parts are all over the apartment. This is what she's telling the police. And obviously, the police are not buying this. December 1st, Omaima is arrested. She is placed under, she doesn't have any money. Her bond is set for $250,000, and she is placed under arrest for the murder of Bill Nelson. Now, the police are looking into the whole background, looking at this scene, and they are processing this scene. And then, of course, they've got to piece together Bill's actual body. What they end up finding, and Bill is a large man, and basically they end up finding body parts, but they know based on his height and weight that they are missing about 180 pounds of flesh, okay? So, and then likewise, they're investigating Omaima, they're investigating Bill, they're talking to neighbors, they're talking to, her past boyfriends and everything. And then they're piecing this all together. But they do send, the coroner's office, they analyze Bill's body, and they find that he actually has bruises. And I will go back and say, Omaima does have cuts and contusions on her body. I will say that. So she was showing these to Jose and the police as her self-defense story. Okay, just FYI. But the coroner's office, they do find that Bill actually, they're able to see his parts of his body are deeply damaged, but they are able to see actual bondage and bruise marks on his ankles. So it is evident that actually he was tied up. She is arrested. She is in prison, or she is in the jail. She's awaiting, trial. They automatically file charges. They're trying to piece together all of this. And back to the coroner's report on Bill. So they do find also that he had 25 different wounds to his skull. So basically his cause of death was bludgeoning. So he is bludgeoned. They find stab marks, they find bludgeon marks, they find those bondage marks on his body. Like, his body indicates a horrendous action and not a self-defense situation. Omaima is assigned a public defender named Tom Mooney. So Tom is working with Omaima on her story, and again, her defense. Now, on the prosecution side, they're putting together all of the physical evidence and then witnesses and such. Omaima's trial is set for December of 1992, a full year after this incident happens. In her defense, Tom Mooney, he states, and he will actually put Omaima on the witness stand. So he states, and her story is, her background, when she was in Egypt, she was sexually assaulted. She was actually given what they call a female circumcision. Her father had this done when she was only 6 years old. And I'll tell you, I did not know anything about this situation, but evidently this is something in that culture. There are numerous human rights fights against this, but in that culture, sometimes the women would be quote unquote circumcised, and basically it was with blunt instruments like razors, not even surgical instruments. It wasn't done under any type of anesthesiology. It was not done in any type of sterile environment. This was more of like a cultural situation, and so evidently this was done by her, like her father had it done on her, and this would have caused her great pain. For one thing, it would have made any type of sexual activity very painful for her. She had scar tissue from that, and so she had a lot of psychological analyzations as well, but basically her defense stated that she was assaulted, she was raped, that Bill had come after her, and that she, in her defense and then psychosis state, because they weren't trying to refute the fact that she did it, but they were saying that she went, basically had an episode because she had so much past trauma that she just lost it, and she stabbed him repeatedly, and then she took a lamp and bludgeoned him. She also took an iron and bludgeoned him, and these items were found consistent in the apartment. So she states she did this and then basically blacked out. On the flip side of this situation, the prosecutors are able to show that Bill was actually bonded and tied up. They did talk to several other men in her life who came up, and they were able to correlate that she had Robert Hansen, that she had tied him up, she had beat him, and the only reason that he didn't face Bill's fate was he actually got loose and was able to push her off of him. And so I will say the prosecution, upon finding, Hansen had not come forward. He had not filed any type of report against Omaima, but at the time of all this happening, the prosecutors actually opened another case. So he did file charges. So she was facing this murder charge, and she was facing the assault charges on Hansen. But Hansen is going to be a prosecution witness. But they are showing that she does have a history of abuse. They were able to show the heinousness of just these body parts everywhere. They were able to confirm with the neighbors. There were neighbors to this apartment that said that Thursday and then Friday, the garbage disposal was just running and running and running. And so the prosecution stated many parts of Bill were missing, and that she actually was disposing of Bill via the garbage disposal. So that was why the neighbors were hearing the garbage disposal run. So the prosecution is laying out Omaima as a predator, going from man to man for trading sex, for money, for housing, just whatever she could get. They were showing her as heinous, and this is coming right after the time frame of Jeffrey Dahmer. So the prosecution also, like Omaima she recanted it, but she did state also in her defense that, because she does take the stand, she states that demons made her do it, and then also that she had cooked Bill's ribs and that they tasted like barbecue, basically, that she had eaten them, and she does recant this. And again, this time frame is coming off of the Jeffrey Dahmer case, so cannibalism is very on people's minds. It's just absolutely gruesome, grisly, this crime scene, horrific. So again, the prosecutors, they are telling a very different side of Omaima. She's a predator. She has a history of violence against men. Obviously, the evidence, the actual physical evidence, points to a heinous crime. So the prosecution is wanting first-degree murder charge. The family was, that's what they're trying to go for. But the jury will deliberate for a week, and they will come back and find Omaima guilty of second-degree murder. So they couldn't, in their head, find quote-unquote premeditation. They got her for second-degree murder. So first-degree was not an option because of the premeditation. The prosecution comes back and states that the family, Bill's family, is very happy about this situation. At least they got her for the second-degree murder. Because again, she was trying to get off on just a manslaughter. She was saying it was self-defense, that she didn't really even remember doing it. Now, they will say, even in the coroner's report, that her cutting up a body, they discussed how difficult that would be. And the cuts were so precise that even prosecution really thought that this was maybe not even the first time that she had done such. So this really was a heinous, horrible, grisly situation, absolutely across the board. Omaima, she is very young at the time that this happens. I mean, she's 24, 25 years old. She is given 27 years to life sentence. So that's what she is given. And then, so she goes into the prison system there in California. She does try to go through appeals. Her appeals are denied because she's trying for anything about self-defense, looking at the battered women syndrome because of her history of abuse in her background. She is in prison. During this time, she engages in many long-distance relationships. In fact, she is actually, around 2006, she is granted, she gets married to a man, and evidently he's much older than she is. He's in his 70s. She gains rights to actually have him come in for, conjugal visits with her in prison. This kind of blows my mind. Now, this man evidently, they had gotten married. He dies in 2011 and leaves her quite a bit of money. So even in prison, she is still kind of utilizing that same lifestyle as far as men and use of, these relationships to kind of get whatever. Now, Omaima first became eligible for parole in 2006, which is about the time that she was getting married to that man that died in 2011. Now, she is denied. The commissioners found that she was unpredictable and that she was a serious threat to public safety. She had never taken responsibility for her actions. She had many disciplinary infractions during her from 92 to 2006. The infractions were fighting, battering workers there at the prison. She had possession of contraband, theft, just everything. She was always in having issues. Luckily, so parole is denied in 2006. She was actually again eligible in 2011, which was the time period that her husband died and left her money, but she was also denied parole again for still not taking responsibility for the murder, and that she would not be a productive citizen if she were freed. So, unfortunately, guys, Omaima is eligible for parole again, or will seek parole again in 2026. So this will be very interesting since 2011, if she has changed her ways, if she has improved her situation, if she'll be eligible for parole. I will definitely be watching for that and watching her case, and I will do a follow-up, definitely one way or the other, in 2026 on my social media, so watch for that. But this case, my goodness, it's very, not to say I don't believe her background. If she says that she, had those assaults and all of those in her childhood, I really feel for her. It's absolutely horrendous. And just that there was definitely evidence of the female circumcision, which just, I can't even wrap my head around. If you don't know what that is, yeah, go Google that. It depends on the situation, but basically, yeah, it's where they, cut off all of your female organs on the outside, and then it just causes tons of pain, and obviously how they do it, and just, anyway, it's just absolutely horrendous. I was ignorant to any of that. So yeah, so definitely terrible. And they've evidently been fighting against this in countries since 1929. So yeah, and this would have been, she was born in 68. So yeah, and she was about 6 years old. And normally these circumcisions would happen in the females around the time they're 5. So it's just absolutely horrendous to think about. But definitely horrendous. Obviously, she, even with that abuse, obviously you can't go around bludgeoning people. And it was very obvious that Bill was bound. He was tied to the bed. The blood stains on the bed. She killed him on the bed. He was, he had 25 wounds to his skull. He had numerous stab wounds. And then just the mere horrible gruesomeness of being cut down, allegedly put through the garbage disposal, allegedly eaten, just absolutely horrendous, and all done on Thanksgiving Day. So I will say, this episode is coming out on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know when you'll listen to it though, but I really hope that you have a wonderful day with your friends and family. I know that I plan on being with all my family. Looking forward to it. It's hard to discuss after discussing this case to even think about eating anything. Oh goodness. So anyway, yikes. So yeah. So let me know what you guys think of this case. And yeah, yikes. Thank you guys for listening. Please comment, follow, leave me a rating. Definitely reach out to me. And if you have any requests for content in 26, I'm looking forward to lots of fun subject matter. So I definitely take requests. Most of the episodes are requested. So yeah, so definitely reach out to me, and I will definitely listen and get back with you. And yeah, so I really greatly appreciate you guys. And I did this past week, we had this RCast Awards, and the listeners had voted, and they voted for me to be the podcaster of the year. So I'm very thankful for that. They also voted for the podcast won the best entertainment award. So yay. I was just very elated and very appreciative. So thank you guys. And that was a fun Thanksgiving surprise for me. So we're headed into the holidays. Stay tuned. I do have a very fun episode coming up in December. So stay tuned for maybe some fun, maybe some crime, maybe some folklore in December. Stay tuned, okay? And thank you guys so much. Have a great week. Bye.